What are some of the pros and cons to stacking jewelry like the watches, the rings, the necklaces alongside your silver and gold coins, rounds, and bars? And what's the easiest way to travel with the precious metals? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well, feeling great, and staying safe. Today I want to talk about stacking silver and gold, but I'm not talking about the coins, rounds, and bars. I'm talking about the jewelry and whether or not I think it's something that you should stack. I think it might make absolutely zero sense to half of us and make perfect sense to the other half. But really quick, just in case you're new, make sure to subscribe for daily videos. Also subscribe to my second channel, which is my backup channel for exclusive weekly content. Brand new video over there. Go check it out. The link will be in the description. And if you want to get some DYDSS merchandise to help support the channel, I would really appreciate it. Any and all merchandise can be found by clicking the first link in the description section down below. Thank you in advance. It's more than appreciated. So today I wanted to talk about stacking silver and gold jewelry because there are some pros, there are some cons, and I want to really get into it. And if you stick around till later in the video, I'm going to be talking about traveling with precious metals and how much you're allowed to travel with and how you can kind of get around it if you absolutely needed to. But today I wanted to start off by talking about the jewelry. I'm talking about the rings, the watches, the necklaces, the chains, the earrings, the whatever. The jewelry. This stuff carries an unbelievably high premium, an astronomically high premium, and it's for a pretty simple reason. It's because it's much more difficult to manufacture these pieces of jewelry than it is to simply mint a coin, a round, or a bar. So you're not only buying into the precious metal, but you're also buying into the art, the beauty, the craftsmanship, and not to mention, if you're buying jewelry, I would say probably 9 times out of 10 is for a gift, because you know how these commercials work. If you don't buy your significant other an expensive piece of jewelry that breaks your bank account for Christmas this year, that means you don't love them. So I wanted to talk about this first, the purity of the jewelry. More specifically, gold. When people think of jewelry, they're mostly envisioning a nice gold necklace or a watch or something like that. So for those of you who do not know, the purity of jewelry is a little bit different, but very similar to the purity of our coins, rounds, and bars. For those of us who are stacking the coins, rounds, and bars, we know what 90% is, we know what 3 nines fine is, we know what 4 nines fine is, and that's kind of our way of thinking when we hear purity in reference to precious metals. But when it comes to jewelry, it's a little bit different. It goes by carat. So 10 carat is where it starts, based off of the research I've done anyway. I'm not a jeweler, but 10 carat equates to 41.7% level of purity. 14 carat is what's up next, 58.5% level of purity. 18 carat, which is 75% level of purity. Then there's 20 carat, which is 83.3% level of purity. Then there's 22 carat, which is 91.6% level of purity, which if you think about it, is very similar to our pre-65 coins. 91.6%, 90%, pretty close. And then finally there's 24 carat, which is as pure as it gets when it comes to jewelry, 99.95+% level of purity. So this is almost synonymous to our 3 nines fine silver coins, rounds, and bars, or our gold coins, rounds, and bars. So I wanted to talk about this first because the purity, it's a little bit different. It could absolutely be something that you stack as well. I mean, I personally do not stack jewelry. I have no intentions of stacking jewelry. I'm not really much of a jewelry wearer. I don't like the big clunky watches. I don't like having a bunch of chains on. I don't wear rings. I don't wear anything like that. That's just not really my style. And some people might be like,
well, the only reason you don't wear jewelry is because you can't afford it.
And if that's your opinion, I'm glad it is. The more people that think I'm broke, the better. Also, really quick, let me interrupt the video to let you know I will be doing a live stream tonight, 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Depends on what time this video gets posted. It'll be in the VIP club. I'll leave the link in the description if you'd like to join. But in all seriousness, I'm just not really that drawn to jewelry. Just me, personal preference. I don't really like the way that it looks. However, there was one time, and I've talked about this in the past. It's been a while since I've brought it up. But there was one time that I actually found a broken gold chain on the ground. It was in a parking lot. There were no other cars. I pulled in to make a phone call, and I'm one of those guys that can't sit still on the phone. I gotta pace back and forth somewhere. So I got out of the car, I was walking around, I was on the phone, and I found a gold chain on the ground. I picked it up, it was broken, the clasp, so I mean you could always get that fixed, but I had no use for it. And this was also like probably 5 or 6 years ago, long before I was stacking the silver and the gold, so I didn't really value precious metals. I didn't really care all that much. So the first thing I did was I took it to a pawn shop and I said, hey, how much is this worth? And I told myself it doesn't really matter to me how much it's worth because it wasn't mine to begin with. It's not like I spent money on it. And I even looked around. There wasn't a person in sight. There were no houses around. There were no stores around. There was no one. I was all by myself in a parking lot. So I said, hey, you know what? Mine now. Took it to the pawn shop, asked how much it's worth. I don't even remember how much the guy said it was worth, but I said, hey, that's cool. Give me the cash. Because back then, I valued the paper more than I valued actual money. And I remember when I was younger as well, I would look at what all of these rappers on TV would do, and I would look at the decisions that they would make, and I remember thinking, wow, they're pretty stupid. Now I'm a little bit older, and I actually have an understanding when it comes to the value of the silver and the gold and even the jewelry and whatnot, and I still think they're stupid, but for completely different reasons. But when they're stacking the gold chains, when they're stacking the Rolex watches and the rings and all these diamonds and stuff like that, at the very least, I guess in a weird way, you could say that they're preserving their wealth and wearing the wealth that they're preserving. I have no idea. But typically, the jewelry carries an astronomically high premium, and this is what some people are into, some people are not into it, some people can't stand it, but they buy it anyway just as a gift. Some people buy it just because they want to show off. Everybody has a different reason for, I guess, wearing jewelry, similar to how we all have different reasons for stacking silver and gold, typically coins, rounds, and bars. But even though it typically carries an astronomically high premium, there's actually a really strong plus side to the jewelry, especially when it comes to traveling. Now, before I even fully get into that, let me talk about how much silver and gold you are legally allowed to travel with, and I'm talking about on airplanes and whatnot, if you're using the silver and gold coins, rounds, and bars and whatnot. According to TSA, you're only allowed to travel with $10,000 worth at a time. So $10,000, that might seem like a lot of money, but when it comes to the silver and the gold, it's really not that much. If you take $10,000, which is the maximum amount you're allowed to travel with, and divide it by, let's just say, about $25, because that's roughly the spot price of silver, that gives you 400 ounces of silver. It's quite a bit of silver. Not that much in the grand scheme of things, but it is a pretty absurd amount of silver to be carrying around with you. That's like maybe 12 or 13 kilo bars. That's a lot of silver. Not much in the grand scheme of things, but silver weighs quite a bit, especially when you're in the hundreds of ounces. And then if you were to take $10,000 and divide it by, let's just say about $1,900, roughly the spot price of gold, that only gives you 5.2 troy ounces of gold. Not even 5.5 troy ounces of gold. Which, by the way, quick side note, this is what I always talk about when it comes to converting silver to gold if and when the gold to silver ratio gap closes in, because it reduces the weight, it reduces the bulk. You can't really move an entire wheelbarrow worth of silver around when you could put that same amount into gold and put it right in your pocket. Just a fun fact. But anyway, back to the focal point of the video. With $10,000 worth of silver and gold being the limit to how much you're allowed to travel with, this is actually for two main reasons. I'm sure there are plenty of other reasons as well. But number one, it's to avoid risk for TSA, for the airports, for everything airplane and traveling related. If they were to somehow lose, or if it were to somehow get stolen, I don't know how they would be able to make up for something over $10,000. That's not really something that they want to have to pay for. That's not something that they want to cover. That's not something that they want to worry about. So imagine if they were to somehow lose, or if somebody was somehow able to steal $25,000, $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 worth of silver and gold. Not to say that it's all that smart to be carrying around that much gold with you anyway, but it's beside the point. Second reason is that it's to prevent money laundering, which makes perfect sense. By the way, it's also a plus because If you're carrying around over $10,000 worth of silver and gold and you're not allowed to do that because of potential money laundering, that tells me that if I were to fly to essentially almost any country in the world with an absurd amount of silver and gold and they don't want me to do that, it's because it's internationally recognized money, which gives me a little bit more reassurance, I guess you can say. But there is a way around all of this. It might not be ideal. It might not be allowed to travel with more than $10,000 worth of silver and gold coins, rounds, and bars. But when it comes to the jewelry, based off of all of the research I've done, absolutely no limit. I haven't found a single website that limits how much jewelry you are allowed to travel with on an airplane, going to this country or to that country or across the country, just simply to a different state. I haven't found one source that tells me there's a limit on how much money worth of jewelry you're allowed to travel with. So when you look at some of these rappers or some of these athletes or some of these actors or some of these celebrities who walk around with these big crazy gold chains on, and they have the giant diamond earrings and a Rolex watch on each wrist and rings on every single finger. Number one, they can do that because they're also surrounded by security. But two, they're completely allowed to do this. It doesn't matter how much money, or should I say currency or fiat, worth of money you're wearing. It doesn't matter if you are completely covered head to toe in the diamonds, in the gold, in the silver, in the platinum, the palladium, the rhodium. That doesn't matter. That's perfectly okay. So technically, if you wanted to stack silver and gold and you wanted to make sure that there was always going to be a way around traveling with silver and gold, if you absolutely needed to, I don't really see any harm in occasionally buying a piece of jewelry. That way, if push comes to shove and you need to relocate, or if you're going to simply go somewhere, you can just simply take the jewelry with you as an alternative. Now, this is something that you can do. It's not necessarily something that I think the overwhelming majority of us should have to worry about. I'm personally not stacking jewelry. I'll stick to the coins, rounds, and bars. I don't necessarily plan on fleeing to another country. I love America. I'm staying here. You couldn't pay me to move to a different country. I love America too much. But if you were to travel, whether it just be vacation or whether it be simply moving to a different state and you were to fly there, the jewelry could absolutely be a way around that $10,000 worth of silver and gold restriction or roadblock that they put in front of you. Again, it's number one, so they don't have as much to worry about. It's not as much of a risk for them. And two, it's to prevent money laundering. The gold bars, the silver coins, that is what's looked at as money. The jewelry, even though it's made of money, it's not typically viewed as money. When somebody's walking around with all of this fancy jewelry on, you don't look at them and say, oh wow, look at all the money that they're wearing. You probably say, okay, that person probably has a lot of money, therefore he's able to buy that jewelry. I guess it's just the way that it's perceived. I'm not entirely sure, but this was a little bit of information that I found out probably around this time last year, and I thought that it would be an interesting topic for today's video. I know a lot of people are probably Christmas shopping, or hopefully they got their Christmas shopping done. Christmas is only a couple days away, but if somebody's still Christmas shopping and they're interested in gold chains and silver rings and watches and earrings and whatnot, I don't know. Again, I'm not much of a jewelry guy. I'm not a jeweler. I don't know all that much about jewelry. I don't really care all that much about jewelry. It doesn't impress me. It doesn't really grab my attention. I just really don't care. If somebody's walking around with coins, rounds, and bars, I'm going to look. But if he's walking around with a chain on or a nice Rolex watch, I'm going to be honest with you, I could not possibly care any less. But I want you guys to head on down to the comments and let me know, what are your thoughts on stacking jewelry? Is this something that you do? Or is this something that you would consider maybe doing one day in the future? What are your thoughts on stacking, and I don't mean the coins, rounds, and bars. I'm talking about the rings, the watches, and the necklaces, since they are, after all, made of precious metals. And if anybody's interested in joining the Precious Metals VIP Club, it's where I can do things on my own terms, not on YouTube's terms, my terms. I'm hosting privately held live streams. They're smaller, easier to manage. I'm actually going to be doing one tonight around 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, depending on what time this video gets out. I'm also doing giveaways, discounts, personalized promo codes, shoutouts, deal alerts when silver and gold is on sale on a variety of different websites. And of course, you can watch all of my YouTube videos commercial-free. Come join the Precious Metals VIP Club. It'll be the first link in the description. You're invited. I'd be happy to have you. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button. If you guys like me, make sure to subscribe. New videos every single day, 365 days a year. Also subscribe to my second channel, which is my backup channel for exclusive weekly content. Brand new video over there. Go check it out. The link will be in the description. Trying really hard to hit 2,000 subscribers. We just hit 1,500, and I appreciate that. And if you want to help support the channel in the biggest possible way, please consider getting yourself some DYDSS merchandise. Of course, we have some precious metal themed t-shirts and hoodies, which are up for grabs, along with a ton of other products, t-shirts, hoodies, even stickers, many of which are raising funds and awareness for different charity organizations, such as the recently released Kraken Stackin' t-shirt, hoodie, sticker, and coffee mug, inspired by the beautiful 2-ounce silver Kraken coin, which, by the way, is helping us raise a little bit of funds and awareness for ocean cleanup charity organizations at no additional cost to you. It comes out of my pocket, not yours. And, of course, the limited edition DYDSS Christmas line, which is helping raise a little bit of funds and awareness for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Only available until Christmas. Get one while you can. Any and all merchandise can be found by clicking the first link in the description section down below. Thank you in advance. It's more than appreciated. And once again, I want you guys to head on down to the comments and let me know. Do you currently, have you ever, or would you ever stack silver and gold jewelry alongside your coins, alongside your rounds, alongside your bars, since they are, after all, made of precious metals? Especially the 24 karat gold pieces, which of course carry the highest of high premiums, but it could be a way around the $10,000 worth of precious metals restriction. And by the way, before I wrap this video up, let's just say $10,000 worth of silver doesn't necessarily need to be 400 ounces of silver. I mean, what happens if spot price goes all the way up to $50 again? That 400 ounce limit gets brought down to 200 ounces. So how much silver or gold you're allowed to travel with relies on the spot price. So head on down to the comments and let me know anything and everything related to today's video topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. And remember, don't you dare stop smiling. Peace.